I'm very happy to be here with you, and I would like to thank the Global Tourism Forum Earth for this great opportunity to introduce, the Mekong region and what we are doing to promote cooperation and innovation. Now I will introduce Neal. Neal, with how can I say, has so many different, caps, but I would say Neal is a philanthropist with my French accent. Maybe it's a philanthropist, but and also a social entrepreneur, and of course in tourism and hospitality. And Neal founded Streets International in New York, in the US, and in Vietnam. So Neal, can you introduce yourself and share your vision of collaboration, cooperation, and innovation?
First of all, Catherine, thank you very much for inviting me and coordinating this small but important panel, important topic. And Zaire, good to hear your comments from a country that I visited a number of times and eager to get back to as well. I think as Catherine said, I have worked in tourism and hotels and restaurants and hospitality for most of my career. It's what I studied in school. I've been part of big organizations and small organizations. I've consulted, I've owned, and I've operated. But in recent times, as part of a focus on a more sustainable approach to hospitality and tourism, I initially became a student of social enterprises, and now I am a practitioner and an advocate that social enterprises are one very, very good model or platform where we can continue, as Kathy, similar to Destination Mekong, kind of a public-private partnership. So everybody's around the table using the thinking and the approaches of all those different not-for-profit and for-profit models in order to ensure that we have the most successful and sustainable tourism. And that's a bit of my background. Of course, I founded Streets here in Vietnam over a decade ago, and we work with many, many disadvantaged youth, and we've now rebooted post-pandemic and are continuing on with our work and our enterprises in Hoi An. I'd like to kind of take a slant a little bit, Kathy, it's okay with you, because I think it's certainly so important part of and maybe drives the need for collaboration and working together and innovation, and to talk and focus a little bit really on the sustainable tourism, because I think that underlines really what's driving all of us. It was just part of another discussion. I'm not going to give the details of it, but I want to report that I was dismayed to hear, I won't mention his name, but the CEO of one of the largest travel companies in the world, and it was about sustainable tourism. And he said, oh, well, we need to be sure we're part of the discussion. Here's a major, you would know the name instantly, CEO. We need to be part of the discussion. Yikes, is my response. It's too late. The discussion part is past. It's time for action, as Kathy and Zaire, you both have alluded to, and I think we know, of course, the discussion continues. We must always part of our club. But to have a major leader, CEO, say, oh, we must be part of this discussion, my reaction was, yikes, it's too late. With all due respect to all of us and this roundtable, there needs to be more action, more doable activity, and less roundtables. Of course, we enjoy roundtables. Of course, they're part of collaboration and they're necessary. But I think we need to kind of slant our focus, our energy on being more active, doing more actions. And I think the old adage that actions speak louder than words, like a lot of old adages, is an important one and a powerful one. And so too for sustainable tourism. Actions speak louder than words. Just to give some example, at Streets, for example, in Hoi An, We were the first in Hoi An to eliminate plastic. So certainly, sustainable tourism needs to eliminate plastic. In all the countries that we now sit in, if we were to stroll down to the nearest lake or river, we would find the same mess, too much disposable plastic. We're all part of that problem, but we need to be part of the solution. In Hoi An, Streets was the first to eliminate plastic. No plastic bags, no plastic takeaway bags, from our restaurants, our enterprises, and no plastic straws. And I give you this example not to tout how good we were, but we put up signs everywhere around our restaurant and in social media about what we were doing. So what was the impact of leading the way on a good sustainable practice? Our business grew. Tourists are interested. International travelers want to frequent sustainable enterprises that practice sustainable approaches. At Streets, again, I use as an example, we were the first some years ago to say no, the first restaurant in Hoi An, probably one of the first in Vietnam, to say no smoking. Oh my goodness, the reaction we got from other restaurants and hotels who would refer a lot of business to us was, oh, Neal, you are crazy. You need to go back to New York. Go back to Los Angeles where that stuff started. You can't tell guests. You can't tell people from, all due respect, Kathy, from France, no smoking. You can't tell folks from Europe, no. And I said, you know what? It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And part of our job in being successful is to also be leaders. What happened similarly to the plastic when we said no smoking, and we touted it, we broadcast it. Of course, some people were annoyed with us. Of course, we lost some reservations, but over time, our business improved. We saw more guests. Our guests were more delighted with the practice. So I give you these examples, not to boast about some of the great things Streets has done in small sustainable practice areas, but to show that the model can be good practice and good leadership leads to good business. It's important that if we know all those things can coexist, there's more motivation and less obstacle, I think, to being that way. I suggest overall, not just I, many others, we need to develop, talk about, and activate, do a slow travel, the same as we've done in food, slow food. It's a different but more sustainable way to explore the world. We need to show leadership in folks who are traveling the same way I travel and you travel and our guests travel, to stay in one place, to go deeper in that place, to get into the food and the culture, go lighter on road travel, lighter on polluting planes. Ultimately, your experience is a better one. You don't have to go far, whether you're in Hanoi or Saigon or Siem Reap or Paris. Sitting in a coffee cafe, watching the street traffic go by, talking to the server is one of the richest experiences one can have in traveling. I do it all the time. Oftentimes, that kind of slow, in-depth, sitting there enjoying is a richer experience than going to the local museum for an hour or two. Now, I'm not saying anything that we don't already know, certainly. But what I'm trying to call us to is we need to say that out loud. We need to provide leadership in the tourism industry and say that. We need to build our models and our financial models and our revenue so we continue to do well, even if that guest doesn't go to as many different places. Because the more travel, of course, a little bit more abuse there is on the environment. I think, part of that is we need to lead the way and stop talking about all the must-sees, all the things you have to do when you get to a place. Talk about the culture, talk about the people, talk about the community, and encourage our guests, whether they're groups or individuals or whatever, to experience Now, again, it's simple, but it's very powerful. And I think we in tourism, in all our respective hats we wear, really need to step up and speak louder as leaders so that travelers get reoriented to a slow travel model. I want to say another thing, which may be unpopular, but I think needs to be said. And I do the best I can in my own little way to lead, and I call upon others. We have to stop romanticizing about low spend backpackers. We need to stand up and say that. People in tourism, especially in Southeast Asia, some others, are very cautious to do that. But we need to stand up and limit and control low spending backpackers. I was one too. I was a university student. But unless we start to speak about this and develop our products, we're not sustainable. I think we all know, whether we want to say it out loud or not, and I'm fine to say it out loud, low spend backpackers are the worst offenders of our communities, our culture, and our environment. Everyone know. But by and large, and I'll be the mouth that says it, we all know this to be true. And I think as leaders in tourism, talking about sustainable tourism and sustainable practices, we shouldn't be shy to say these things. We need to figure out. And I would just, I'm kind of looking at the clock. I don't want to take up too much time, Kathy. You know, I would direct us, as many have done, to the Bhutan model. As we all know, it's not as, having traveled in Bhutan, it's not as perfect a model as it's touted, of course, but it's a very good model to start with. High quality, low volume. Also expensive, but I believe all of us working together can create low volume, high quality, and moderate cost travel. It doesn't necessarily have to be quite as expensive as travel in Bhutan. So maybe I'll leave you with these words. I think Bhutan is the place we should start with looking at and creating a hybrid model based on low volume, better quality, more sensitive to our communities. Certainly Bhutan does an amazing job of protecting their communities and their culture and their food. And that's a model for sustainable tourism that we could start and develop a hybrid of that's more suitable to many countries. So I think maybe I'll stop there. I hope I've only stepped on a few toes, not too many, but I think it's important that we speak up, and whether we're right or wrong, to have action-oriented discussions and to do things at this point. So I'll stop there. But again, thank you, Kathy, very much, and Zia, for listening. Thank you as well.